Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I am streaming to you from beautiful Budapest, capital city of Hungary here in Central Europe. Welcome to our new member, Hardik. Hardik, make sure to send me an email for your perks. Hi Pradeep, as well. Good to see you in class. Pachu, Chongmin. Good to see many students joining in for this task 2 writing class. We will be writing for a Band 9 sample essay with today's question. Coming from our websites, aehelp.com for the academic version of the exam and gieltshelp.com for the general version of the exam. Those websites, I will just quickly show you. They look like this. This is the academic here. The blue background. Click that big red button to join. Get access to 6 practice exams. Fully interactive course, over 100 hours of video lessons. Same idea for the general green background. Click that red button to join us there. Valiant Venture, Zainab, your Salim, Shanghung. Good to see more members in the class. Fantastic. And good to see all of our other frequent students as well, of course. Download our app, Academic IELTS Help. Link your web account to study all from one place. Get the most advanced online IELTS learning experience. If you have questions, contact us, Adrian, Adrian, at aehelp.com. I am doing fantastic, Nyan Ting Kim Nguyen. I hope you're doing well also. Thank you for asking. Monica, you can absolutely ask me a question anytime. If I can't get to it in class, you can just send me an email here, okay? All right, students, so today, task 2, this is for everyone. We will look at planning strategies, how to practice before the exam at home. And here is our question for today. IELTS Task 2 writing. You should spend about 40 minutes on the task. Make sure to spend 40 minutes on the task. It is worth 2/3 of your total writing score. Okay, so it's worth twice as much as task 1. Students often ask me, should I start with task 2 because it's worth double task 1 for my band score? What do you think? Is it a good idea to start with task 2 and then just do your best there and leave task 1 for after? Is that a good idea? Or should you just start with task 1? Which is better? So Roshni says, nah, not a good idea. Yeah, Ferdov says maybe. No, it's usually not a good idea. You should do task 1 first. That's because task 1 is a warm-up essay in a lot of ways, okay? So just remember, students, that task 1 should warm you up for task 2, but you should not go over the 20 minutes, okay? So task 1 is your warm-up essay. Don't go over 20 minutes. Always do it first. Okay, it's a good idea. Task 1, when you practice, it should be easier, okay? Task 1 should be more straightforward. Straightforward means simpler to do because it is an expository essay, of course, versus task 2, which is a persuasive essay. So that's the logic behind doing task 1 first. Task 1, when you practice before the exam, should be easier. You're simply explaining an idea. For general IELTS, it's a letter, so it's a narrative, but still the narrative is easier than a persuasive. Persuasive essays often, especially with time constraints, can be the most challenging. Okay? All right, so here we go. Currently, there is a trend toward alternative forms of medicine. However, at best, these methods are ineffective, and at worst, they can be dangerous. To what extent do you agree with this statement? Use examples and explanations to support your opinion. Okay, so as I said, this is a persuasive essay. You're arguing your opinion. What is the voice of this essay? According to the wording in this question, what do you think is the voice of this essay? So, to what extent do you agree with this statement? Use examples and explanations to support your opinion. So, are we using first person voice here, ideally? Second or third person voice? Yeah, first person's not bad. You can. I might use third person here. Yeah. Nima Thalu and Hoi An Trung saying third person, I think. Yeah, I would use third person here because this part here, to what extent do you agree? So it doesn't necessarily mean that you say I agree, but you could. Here is the trick. It's this sentence here that usually decides the voice, okay? So when you see this in the exam, use examples and explanations to support your opinion. This is more of a third person type statement. So this would be third person. And for those students that aren't sure what we're talking about here, I'll explain in a second. Okay. And for those of you that do, keep an eye out if it's like this. Okay, so that's the difference between a third person and a first person question. And you see both of them on the IELTS at times. So this would be a best answered as a first person. There we go. All right, so if the question's like this, use examples and explanations to support your opinion. It's more of a third person, so no I, no me, never you. Okay, you is second person. We never use you on the IELTS, except for general task 1. Okay, but for task 2, you never use second person, you. Okay. If the question's like this, use examples and explanations from your own experience. From your own experience. This is the key phrase that you're looking for when it's definitely a first person. I hope that's quite clear for you. Okay. So here, let's focus on third person. Okay. So third person voice makes sense. For those students who aren't familiar with first, second, and third person author voice, please take a few minutes in your day and Google author's voice. First, second, third person voice. Okay, so Google this whole phrase or part of this phrase. It's very important that you understand this when you're writing your essays. If you don't, you can lose a lot of band scores, okay? If you write I, me, people, you, it can get very confusing. And you can lose a lot of band scores because your coherence score will go down significantly, okay? Mayur Jagtab is asking, does it really matter what voice we use? Absolutely, Mayur. Absolutely. It matters a lot. Okay? And in university, you can fail an essay for using the wrong voice. So a professor in college or university, Mayur, if you use the wrong voice, will actually fail your essay. Okay? So definitely very important. Okay? Third person voice means the objective voice of the writer. Just because we're using that today, I'll explain it a bit. So objective voice of the writer means that you avoid using I, me, any kind of personal pronoun, me, my, you, yours, okay? Instead, you must use people, individuals, patients in our question. This is just for our example, patients, when we're talking about people who are ill. They, he, she, okay, you can use those. And don't use, so I always recommend avoid using we and us. Those are confusing for the reader often. So let's put those up here. Okay, so again, when you're using third person, it means that you're using a voice which is not just your opinion, but the opinion of the objective voice. So it'll make sense as we write this essay, okay? So third person, it's the objective voice, I mean to say here. So it's the objective voice of the writer. It means you avoid using I, me, my, yours, you, we, us, our. Instead, you must use people, individuals, patient, they, he, she, theirs. Okay, that's what's important. All right. Okay, again, if you're not familiar with these, just Google author's voice. It's very important to know that. Okay. All right, so we have this question here. What should we do with it? So especially when we're practicing at home, we read the question carefully. Currently, there's a trend toward alternative forms of medicine. However, at best, these methods are ineffective, and at worst, they may be dangerous. So what should we do with this question, especially when we practice at home? What's my goal here? Pachu says, let's paraphrase this question. Yeah, I agree, Pachu. Let's get some clarity. So we need to clearly understand this question. So let's just paraphrase it in our own words. Okay, so try it, students. On your own, paraphrase this question. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do the same. All right. So I have my paraphrase waiting for yours. Doing paraphrasing at home, students, helps you to make sure that you identify what the question is truly asking. As well, it helps you to build up a vocabulary base for your essay. And you also identify your understanding of the question. Sometimes it can be a little bit different for different people. So this is how I interpret this question. Nowadays, instead of the word currently, it is popular, so there is a trend to use Eastern medicine. So Eastern medicine is used for traditional medicine, which that's another word that you can use, traditional medicine, which can be using herbs, oils, acupuncture, massage therapy, so different kinds of treatments, which is not empirically proven by the scientific method. So the empirical method means that there's laboratory testing with scientists using statistics, numbers, visible, observable data. So that's the empirical scientific method. In the best case, these methods, in the best case scenarios, these treatments do not help the patient. Do not help the patient means ineffective. And at worst, they may be dangerous. So, however, in extreme cases, they may even lead to harm. All right? So this is a paraphrase of the original question with some more details. Now, as I read this, I said Eastern medicine because often we group alternative forms of medicines as Eastern medicine. Sometimes we also call it traditional medicine as opposed to Western medicine. Okay. All right. I see a couple of more paraphrasings come up by other students. Let's see how other students identify what this question is asking. So Tainder Singh says, nowadays, alternative medical treatment has gained popularity. However, at best point, these are totally ineffective, and at worst, these may be hazardous. Okay, Tainder, some nice use of synonyms there. It's clear that you understand the question. Sheng Hung says, these days more and more people tend to choose different forms of medicine, which may be dangerous because they lack effect or are traditional without scientific backing. Sheng Hung, be really careful with your word choice and your word order. At times, your word choice and your word order, it's close, but it's off. And that slight difference in word choice and word order makes it tricky for a non-English teacher to understand what you're writing. So just careful with that, okay? Joanne Justy says, nowadays people have a tendency about using traditional treatment. Joanne, that's a good start. Keep going with it, okay? Ferdovs Nabiev says, nowadays many individuals choose alternative forms of physical interventions. I'm not sure what physic means there, or physicians, for dogs maybe. However, it is not productive at best and might be hazardous at worst. Okay, for dogs, the end of it is quite good. It's that physic that's a little bit incomprehensible for me. Roshni says, nowadays, in this modern world, different methods are used to treat patients. Although these methods have disadvantages like being ineffective and harmful. Roshni, careful with missing be verbs. I've noticed that happens with your writing at times, so careful. Okay. Taylor Reese says, alternative medicine is not new. It is accepted worldwide as a conventional remedy and still is used by many people. That is not a paraphrase of this question, Taylor. That sounds like an opinion. You have to be careful not to jump to opinion because you could eventually go off topic. And here, your goal is to get a high band score, not just to simply get out your ideas. Okay, so careful. All right, go through the proper steps, the proper channels. Kartik says, nowadays it's popular to use different types of medicines, although it is very hazardous and may not be effective. Kartik, that's not bad. Don't use contractions. So it's should be it is, especially in the academic version of the test. Now, we're also paying careful attention here that this is a to what extent do you agree with this statement? Okay, so that has to be kept in mind throughout our planning here. All right. All right, Pachu says, at present moment, there's an interesting way of other forms of medicine, but at best these methods are not effective, and at worst they might be dangerous. All right, Pachu, that's fairly good. It's fairly close to the original question. You definitely want to paraphrase a little bit more if possible. All right, Hardik says, recently, as traditional treatments are long-term, people prefer modern medicine, which saves time. However, the side effects may harm the human body. Hardik, that is not a paraphrase. Again, that's an opinion. Careful not to deviate, students, to opinions and go off topic. Even though you may be thinking the truth, Hardik, this is not what the question is asking you. You have to stick with the question. Okay? This is just a paraphrase. All we're doing here is paraphrasing the original question to get some ideas of what we're answering, staying on topic, and we may be able to use this in our introduction. Okay? All right, what should we do next? So our step number 1 is paraphrasing, right? In step number 1, we paraphrase to make sure that we paraphrase, we make sure we truly understand the question. Then we also gather vocabulary by doing this. Okay, what do we do in step 2? All right. And again, if I don't read everybody's, don't panic. I'll get to as many of you as I can. Okay. So Roshni Kunte says that we agree or not, our thesis statement, our opinion. Smit Gohel says maybe think about a couple of points before we jump to our thesis. Lean says maybe try to determine the topic and the controlling ideas. Yeah, and when you're practicing at home, definitely, yeah, think about the topic. It's very important to do this, students, at home. Identify the topic and the controlling idea. And what is the topic? So what are we talking about? So what are we discussing? What is this essay focusing on? And I already saw a couple students, even in their paraphrase, going off topic. See, Nyan Ching Kim Nguyen says it's medicines, but it's not just medicines, Nyan. And if you focus on that, you will lose marks. Ferdovs is correct. Roshni is correct. Danielle, Alexandru is correct. Juan Pablo is correct. The focus here, really, the topic is alternative medicine. Okay, they're basically the same. So that's what we're focusing on here. We're focusing on alternative medicines, not just medicines in general. All right? What's the controlling idea? So what aspect of alternative medicines are we actually discussing? Okay. So Zach says disadvantages or advantages. Babur is asking, why is the lesson going so slowly? Babur Baratov, are you thinking slowly as the video feed because it's a live stream, or the actual information in the lesson, Babur? Answer that question, and then I can maybe give you a better answer. C. Oguz says, okay, so the controlling idea is, are they dangerous and to what extent? Yeah, okay. So if we want to say that in a better way, yeah, so Amrit's saying repercussions or side effects. The effectiveness, we can just say the effectiveness Okay, so that's what it's really focusing on here, right? So the topic is alternative Eastern traditional medicines. Controlling idea is the effectiveness of these medicines. So do they actually work? Are they good? Are they bad? Or are they just ineffective, right? So that's what is really at the heart of this question here, all right? And the reason I'm going step by step here, I don't know if this answers your question. I think it was Bobuk that was asking this question, Babur. I'm not sure if your question, Babur, was the concept of the lesson moving slowly, but the idea is, students, that a little bit of planning goes a long way to get those high band scores, okay? It's better to start slowly and then start moving quickly. Okay, it's a fundamental concept. The foundation of a house is the key to building a good quality home. So start slowly when you build the foundation of your essay, all right? If you don't, then you can write with the best English and the best vocabulary and grammar in the world, you will still not get a good band score, all right? If you write an essay, for example, about comparing traditional medicine to Western medicine, you probably will not get over 6.5, even if it's really well written, all right? So be very, very careful. All right, so then you go through the controlling ideas with the topic, you go through the critical thinking with the topic. So step 3 should always be think critically about the topic and the controlling idea. All right? So that means, in the most simple way, to visualize and think of what, why, how. And that, I think, is very important for this essay here. So the topic is alternative medicine or traditional medicine. What is that? So what is traditional medicine? Oops. What is it? So Tainer Singh says homemade remedies. Sure, but what is that actually, Tainer? So what is a homemade remedy? Yeah, Pachu, what is alternative forms of medicine? So Smith says it's like Ayurvedic medicine. And your Salam says it's non-chemical medicines such as herbs. All right, so using herbs and plants used by our ancestors. Okay, sure. So but I think that's more of the how. Okay, So I think using herbs, plants, aromatherapy, Reiki, I'm not even sure how to spell that. Who knows? Energy transference, acupuncture. Okay, so those are, but what is traditional medicine? So it is medicine homeopathy, sure, flash, that's another one. So some says it's ancient medicine. So it's medicine that's been around for a long time, sure. Passed down from our ancestors. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, sure. So let's say that, we're having a little bit of a tough time identifying what traditional medicine actually is, other than it being an old form of medicine. So treatment without equipment or without chemicals, sure. Now remember, when you're explaining a concept, explaining what it's not is not the most effective. So saying that it's not using chemicals, it's not using pills, it's not using surgical tools, that doesn't give me a clear idea on what it actually is. It gives me an idea of what it's not, but it doesn't actually clearly tell me what it is. So always remember to focus on explaining concept from the positive side, not from the negative side, okay? Keep that important point in mind. It makes for much better essays. So always focus to explain ideas from the positive perspective and not the negative. Okay, it's a very important tip for good essay writing and for good argument or good rhetoric. Okay, so explaining what an idea is not does not tell the audience what it actually is. Okay, the example is alternative medicine does not use pills or surgery. Your audience will say, okay, so what is it? Okay, keep that in mind. All right. Thank you, Juan Pablo, for helping me spell out Reiki. All right. Okay. So, here we go. Reiki. There we go. All right. So, if you're having trouble answering the what question, it's not the end of the world. Don't get stuck up on it. Move to the no question. Or, sorry, move to the why question. So, why is traditional medicine used? Okay, so let's think about that instead. Let's focus on this point. All right. So why is traditional medicine used? What's the reasoning behind it? So Samin Miraftab says experience. Okay. Cheap, somebody said. It doesn't cost much. Because of faith, says Bishal. Okay. Sure. So why is it used? Why is it used? Try to think of as many answers as possible. Okay. So somebody just said less chemicals. Yeah. Samin says It doesn't use chemicals. So again, instead of the negative summing, instead of saying less chemicals, we want to use natural ingredients like Tyinder and Tobias are saying. So natural ingredients. Okay. Sonam says it focuses on the healing process. So focus on the healing process. Sure. Let's see. I bet there will be some other good answers coming up now. Danielle says, because a long time ago they didn't have access, but we're talking about now, Daniel. Okay. Sanjita says it's not as harmful, so less side effects. Okay, that's true. All right. Alinda says it's a respect towards tradition and culture. Shivam says they're easily available. So that's a good one. Yeah. You can grow herbs and such in your garden, right? Roshni, very good. So Roshni says cure from the core. So targets the cause of the problem and not the symptom. That's one that you hear often among medical professionals, is that traditional medicines target the cause of the problem, as where Western or modern medicines are often targeting the symptoms. What's an example of that, students? So what's an example of a traditional medicine targeting the cause of a problem versus the Western medicine, which is just targeting the symptom of the medicine? Okay, can you give me an example of that? Juan Pablo says painkillers. Roshni says the common cold. Absolutely, right? So this is where you're thinking about visualization. So now we're getting into the hows, right? So we get into the hows and we look at chamomile tea is to cure the cold, but Tylenol, cold and flu, is to cover up the symptoms. And whatever drug comes to mind, right? So that is a very classic example. Or as Juan Pablo just said, he said painkillers. So Tylenol, painkillers. Stop the feeling of pain. As where yoga, stretches, stop the source of the pain. Okay? So those are the how. Now, of course, students, as you're preparing to write your task 2 essay, you don't need to write down this much detail. I'm just doing this so you can see what we're going towards, right? So what the idea is in your essay. These are actually sentences that you can use in your essay, right? So clearly, we have some good ideas now around this question, around the logic behind the question. Finally, we are ready to take the next big step, which is the most important step for your planning. Okay. This is step number 4. And step number 4 should be, yes, that's right, Roshni, thank you very much. You're on the ball, you know how it rolls. It's the thesis statement. Right? So your thesis statement is the critical, it's the most important statement of your essay. It clearly outlines your voice, your position, and it is the epicenter, it's the pivoting point of your essay. Okay? So now we come up with the thesis statement. The thesis statement is the last sentence of your introduction, right? So let's write a thesis statement. So here's the question again. You should always read the original question one more time before you write your thesis. Okay, so here's the question. Currently, there is a trend towards alternative forms of medicine. However, at best, these methods are ineffective, and at worst, they may be dangerous. To what extent do you agree with this statement? Use examples and explanations to support your opinion. Anthony Bellin, thank you very much for that. Yeah, Anthony's saying, let's write the thesis because it is the backbone of the essay. And absolutely, you're right, Anthony. The thesis is the backbone. If you have a strong thesis, you have a really strong backbone, you will have a good essay. If you don't, the essay will fall apart. Okay? Priya, absolutely. If you strongly disagree with this statement, that's what you need to do. Okay? Co Goose says, let's partially agree. I don't think I would in this case, Co Goose, but you can try that version at home. All right? So I personally wouldn't do it because I think it's a more difficult choice. I think Co Goose, the easier choice here is to just disagree with this. All right? Although there is truth to it, and it's possible to do a partially agree. We did that, I think, last week or the week before. I think the easiest here, it's my opinion, I think for me, the easiest would be to strongly disagree with this essay. And that's because I have two very clear points in my mind for disagreeing. Okay? But for those students who want to do a partially agree, do that as a homework assignment. Send it to me and I'll take a look at it. Okay? Marcus, absolutely I will not write an indirect thesis because they are weak. Okay? So Marcus Glaber is asking, can't I write something like this essay will discuss? No, you can't because Marcus, first of all, the essay is discussing. It's not will discuss. The essay is not a person. You are discussing. Okay, essays don't really actually discuss anything. It's just I don't like that type of writing, and most professionals don't like it either. Okay, it's not essays that discuss ideas; it's humans that discuss ideas, and they not will discuss these ideas, but they are discussing ideas. Okay. All right. Co Goose, the opinion here is that alternative medicines are useless and even harmful. Okay. Santosh, again, you've misread the question. I'm not sure if you were here at the beginning of class, but this is why you need to paraphrase. Students, be very careful. This says that, however, at best, these methods are ineffective, and at worst, they may be dangerous. So I'll write my thesis. I'll show you what I think would be a good thesis here, and then we'll compare. But this would be my thesis statement. So I completely disagree with the notion that traditional medicines are ineffective or harmful because they are extremely effective and inexpensive. I'm going to switch that around. they're extremely inexpensive and effective interventions for most ailments. Okay. I'm going to change this first one just so I don't have repetition. Okay, so this would be my thesis statement. I completely disagree. And here, I want to change one more point because, as I said, this is third person. Okay, so I don't want I, so I need to change the grammar a bit. The notion that traditional medicines are useful or harmful is completely inaccurate because they are extremely inexpensive and effective interventions for most ailments. So this is my final thesis. This is the thesis that's going towards a band 9. Okay. I see a couple other thesis statements up now. So for Dovs, Nabiev says, although certain people ascertain that traditional medicines are not empirically proven and even thought to lead to harm, I strongly believe that Eastern medicine should be used to treat individuals. Okay, for Dovs, just make the same corrections that I made, right? Take out the first person, change it to a third person voice, and maybe include your 2 specific points to back up why they're good treatments for individuals. Okay? All right. So far, so good. Ailments are, Shivam, are illnesses. Okay? And don't be shy. I see your emoji as well, Shivam. I'm guessing that probably many students don't know the word ailments. Ailments are illnesses or sicknesses that are hurting people. Okay? So it's a synonym for sickness. All right? So anytime, students, never be shy about asking for definitions of words. Oh, Rahul, so close, so close. Thank you for sharing your score. It's a beautiful score, Rahul. 8.57, 65, 65. Those are beautiful scores. So close. Keep pushing forward. I think my suggestion, Rahul, is in a month, redo the exam, and I have a feeling that you'll get those 7s in the reading and in the writing part as well. So just keep pushing forward. Focus, target those 2 areas. Maybe try to use the writing services, Rahul, on the website, at least for a couple essays. Okay, that's my suggestion. But very good job, Rahul. 8.5, 7, 6.5, 6.5. That's a band point average of roughly 7.5, 7.5. So that's very strong, Rahul. So good job. Okay. All right. Okay, students. So again, this is my thesis here. It's very clear with the voice. It's very clear with point 1, point 2. I'm going to talk about the idea of disagreeing with the statement because as where they may think that it's ineffective or harms people, it actually helps people. Okay? So again, the notion that traditional medicines are useless or harmful is completely inaccurate because they are extremely inexpensive and effective interventions for most ailments. Okay, that's going to be my essay. Siogu says, isn't it better to use first-person voice since it's asking for our opinion? Yes, Siogus, you can, but as we discussed in the beginning, one more time, Siogus, identify the voice from this part of the question, okay? So use examples and explanations to support your opinion. That sounds like it's asking for third-person examples, kind of like statistics or historical knowledge or data. If the question's like this, Siogus, use examples and explanations from your own experience and knowledge. then use the first person voice. So Sioguz, it's better to decide the voice from the examples of your essay than from the opinion of your essay. However, as I said at the beginning of class, you can, okay, so you can do first person voice. Just make sure that you clearly show your voice in the thesis, okay? All right, students, so let's put together the introduction here. I want to show you a Band 9 introduction so that we have that for next class, okay? The introduction has 3 parts. It has a hook, it has the background, and it has a thesis. Okay, those are the 3 parts. Now the hook is simply a fact that's global, all right? And catches the reader's attention, all right? Many people believe in using alternative medicines to treat their illnesses. Okay, that's it. Your hook does not need to be more than that. So many people believe in using alternative medicines to treat their illnesses. Background is 2 parts. It's definitions and importance. Okay, these are coming from the planning, so this is nothing new here. I'm just simply using information from the planning, okay? Traditional forms of medicine have been around for centuries and include the use of herbs, elements, oils, and even energy transference. It is vital to assess the utility of such interventions, treatments, in a modern world of medicine for the benefit of patients. Although, and this is my thesis, some individuals ascertain that alternative medicine is a negative trend. Okay, and then I simply take my thesis here. And stick it in. All right, and that's my Band 9 introduction. So what I'm showing you here, students, is that once you have good planning, once you practice these skills at home and you know how to understand the question, you know how to generate good ideas around the question, and then you know how to write the hook, the background, the thesis, you can compose a powerful introduction, and the rest of the essay will really flow nicely. Okay? And yes, for those students asking, the hook is very important because it focuses the writer, it catches the reader, and it shows the reader that you're clear about the topic of the question. Okay, so let's take a look at this introduction together one more time. Many people believe in using alternative medicines to treat their illnesses. Traditional forms of medicine have been around for centuries and include the use of herbs, elements. Elements are things like fire, ice, rocks, oils, and even energy transference. It is vital to assess the utility. Utility is another way to say usefulness of such treatments in a modern world of medicine for the benefit of patients. Although some individuals believe that alternative medicine is a negative trend, this is completely inaccurate because they are extremely inexpensive and effective interventions for most ailments. Okay. Just to make it a little bit clearer, so I don't have a hanging modifier there. All right, so that's my Band 9 introduction. That's what I want to practice at home. Students, when you're doing your task 2, spend most of your time on creating and writing very powerful introductions, because when you have that, you have a good foundation, the body paragraphs will be much easier and your band score will be much, much higher. Okay. Amrit, good question. So Amrit says, why didn't you just take your previous background that you wrote? And I think, Amrit, what you're referring to is my paraphrase here at the beginning. So nowadays it is popular to use Eastern medicine, which is not empirically proven by the scientific method. Amrit, great question. I could have used that. Absolutely, I could have used that. I just wanted to give students an alternative for that background. But yes, indeed, in many cases, it was a good question by Amrit. You can use the paraphrasing of the question as part of your background, and that will work. Amrit, I just did that as a bonus to show students that you can really come up with ideas well if you have good planning. Okay, you can just generate thoughts from your mind. All right. Okay, students, that is all the time for today, but worry not. Tomorrow we will complete this essay with the body paragraphs, body 1, body 2, and the conclusion. So tomorrow, the remainder of this essay, less planning, more writing. Of course, that's the way it works. When you have a good foundation, then you can write fluently. Okay, so tomorrow, body 1, body 2, and the conclusion. Until then, join our premium course, aehelp.com for academic, gieltshelp.com for general. Those websites look like this. They have lots of information for writing and opportunities. This is the general. Click that red button to join there. For the academic, blue background, click that red button to join there. We have editing services to help you correct essays and give you feedback as well. Make sure to get our app from your Android or for your Android and iOS, Academic IELTS Help app on your Google Play and Apple App Store. That's it for me for today. For those of you who are writing your test tomorrow, I wish you the best of luck. I'm there with you in spirit. Believe in yourself. Keep calm. If you lose focus, look away from the paper, take a couple of deep breaths, regain your composure, and focus again. Have a great rest of your day. Much love to all of you. If it's nighttime where you're at, then I wish you sweet dreams. Bye for now, everyone.